this clip, I'm hoping to hammer home a couple of plain truths. Now, we discussed about the swing plane. What is the swing plane? But another question we often get is, what is the shaft plane? Well, the shaft plane to me is a disaster because it's a reference point that does more harm than good, but we're going to deal with it because you'll come across it. But if we can deal with it, we can stop worrying about it, and we can worry about the swing plane that really matters, which is the optimum swing plane. So here's me hitting the fence post again with my hammer. That's a blow-in plane, down the post. Okay, the shaft of my hammer is living in the plane of that blow. So it's a very simple piece of understanding. The hammerhead is working in the plane of the post, as is the handle. In golf, we've got a problem. The handle starts out of plane, comes into plane, comes out of it. The hammer stays in plane, but the shaft plane is always changing. So, shaft plane relates to the angle of the shaft relative to the floor. So this is my 6-iron, and I'm going to set up to my 6-iron shot, and you'll see that the bottom yellow cane is mirroring the angle of my shaft. But from all the other clips we've talked to you about, we've talked about the swing plane that's ideal for you is the one that runs from the ball through the upper sternum. So this upper cane is the optimum biomechanical swing plane. It will change with the height of the pupil, it will change with the shot. The point is, it will always go from the ball to the sternum. Now the shaft plane does no such thing. The butt of the club is some 12 inches below the biomechanical plane. So some very great golfers were ruined for a while. Tiger Woods got into awful trouble swinging in plane and then lifting out of it. Okay? What happens in the golf swing is the shaft starts in this address plane, but as you go through the swing, the butt of the club rises into the optimum biomechanical swing plane. So there we are. If you draw a line from the butt of the club through this cane to the ball, that's my biomechanical plane. So we can stop worrying about shaft plane. It really doesn't matter. The shaft is below the biomechanical plane, and when you swing into it. There's your optimum biomechanical plane. Now, the plane of the cane is parallel to the plane of Explanar. Here's the shaft plane, too flat. I want to get these two things parallel. That's much more like it. So, when you step into Explanar, not only do you swing in plane, you swing in your optimum biomechanical plane. You're not swinging anything like the shaft plane. So, in Explanar, the roller, the power roller, is below plane. It rises into it. It drops a bit to rise again. It's more volatile than a fiddler's elbow, and it's useless as a reference point because it's always changing. So, with Explanar, you turn your shoulder and hinge your wrist, and you get onto the optimum biomechanical plane. You can now see that this roller is in the plane. It has nothing to do with the shaft plane. Now, Faldo, Trevino hit fades, they returned to the shaft address plane. But most golfers with the driver are above it as they come in. So I hope I've answered the question, what is shaft plane? Shaft plane relates to the angle of the shaft at address. Now, as I said earlier, it's an erroneous thing to check because the shaft is in one plane at address, a secondary plane at the top, a tertiary plane at impact, and a fourth plane in the follow through. So how can you possibly use it as a reference? The good thing about Explanar is the optimum biomechanical swing plane is there as a reference point throughout your entire swing. Even if shaft plane were true, it's only one reference point in a fraction of the swing. The beauty of the Explanar swing plane, the optimum biomechanical plane, is that it's supporting your best plane throughout your entire golf swing. There are no gaps with Explanar.